Greetings everyone, hope you guys been having some nice holidays. This is going to be the first match of a series from an event that has been occurring the last few days by the name of Kaspersky New Year's Invitational, an event organized by the Russian website goodgame.ru, and pretty intense face-off here, at least I'm hoping for it, because they have such a strong lineup. From what I checked of the brackets, it's basically all of the top European pro gamers facing against some players invited from Korea, all of them from Team oGS, all generation Starcrafters, one of the top Korean pro teams. So since I don't get to watch like East versus West events that frequently, and getting Europeans versus Koreans or Americans versus Koreans only happen very occasionally, especially on the GSLs, I'm hoping for a very intense match to come out of this one. So we're gonna have here a face-off between this yellow Zerg, which, as you can see, the name only states oGS, but it was an account set by the Russian website goodgame.ru to get all the oGS members playing on the European servers. And on that yellow Zerg, it's oGsZenio, one of the most powerful Zerg players playing in Korea, a frequent flyer on the GSLs, very strong player, and well, probably the top Zerg player playing in the oGS team. And is going to be facing here, as you can see, against the Terran player mouzStrelok, member of Team mousesports, an Ukrainian player, been playing Starcraft 2 and is a Brood War veteran, very strong player and one of the top Terrans in Europe. So having like one of the top Zergs in Korea facing against one of the finest Terrans in Europe, I'm hoping for a very intense match coming out of here. Let me get the production tabs up and the HP bars. As you can see, Strelok already going for the wall-off on the bottom of his ramp, getting a Rax already outside of his main base, and probably starting to pump some Marines out. There we go, the first SCV already heading into Zenio's base. He's gonna spot this 14 hatch that went down for Zenio, and now is Zenio already getting his spawning pool. There it is, spawning pool already going down as well. So SCV spotted all of this. Notice that Zenio is committing himself to a 2-base play with that fast expand, and he might be in trouble if Strelok decides to make some kind of early pressure, early push, but apparently that's not the case at the moment. Instead of going for more Rax play, he went Rax into factory and actually getting a second wall off on the top of his ramp. Still a gap there, but he might be able to place some units there and have a double wall off, which is pretty strong. Meanwhile, Strelok with his first Marine, sending him with the SCV into that natural expo from Zenio. Wonder if he's gonna think about getting some bunker there and apply the pressure, but doesn't seem like it. He's just pulling back, still SCV roaming around, probably for scouting purposes, since building a bunker at the moment won't have any use at all. There's no units to get into it, basically. And that SCV just being kept on the side, probably to be used later on, while Zenio slowly crawls his way with an Overlord to the north side of Strelok's base. So Strelok now is not committing himself to any kind of early pressure. He went Rax into factory, into that command center, so probably gonna have some fast expand soon enough by the Terran player and getting that orbital command running on the natural expo. Probably balancing the income game like that and establishing some 2-base play for the Terran player as well. SCV stopped, it's over his with his scouting, got finally destroyed, while noticed how Zenio has been taking control of the Zelnaga watchtowers and trying to gain dominance on the map control. First Hellion come out, and notice that Strelok is committing himself probably to some Hellion play, since he's already building that Infernal Pre-Igniter. We might be seeing more of those Hellions coming out. He already has 2 of them queued, has the tech lab researching the Infernal Pre-Igniter, and the command center is finished and ready to go as soon as Strelok wishes to. Zenio sending his Sacrificial Overlord just to spot and take a look around what's getting built on Strelok's base. Those 2 Marines are going to finish him off, but not without Zenio spotting that command center getting ready, turned into an orbital command. So he does know at the moment that his opponent is getting himself ready to expand, and might be a proper time to try to make some pressure and see if Strelok just committed way too soon, way too many resources to his orbital command and to his expansion. I don't think that would be the case, to be honest, since Zenio has been investing a lot on his macro play. As you can see, let's take a look at the income. Look at the amount of the harvester count. He's leading by 5 on the harvester count, leading economically as well. And apparently Zenio, he will be committing himself to a fairly long econ game and just wants to reinforce his both bases and probably prepare to get the third one soon enough. I mean, the Zerg player cannot stop at 2 bases, especially if he's committing himself to some long game, long macro heavy game, and that seems to be the case. Here comes Zenio with his Zerglings going into that mineral line of the Natural Expo. Strelok was passing on the other side with a bunch of Hellions and had to pull them back. There they are, the Hellions, all of them with Infernal Pre-Igniter already, roasting away those Zerglings, making sure that they won't be able to harass that mineral line, and now going south, while Zenio establishes his third base here on the far west side, on that position, 9 o'clock position, while Strelok is advancing with his Hellions, trying to apply some pressure onto the defenses of Zenio. Zenio answered back very well by having some roaches already built. That comes from this roach warren here that we already seen before. And now apparently Zenio will be able to establish himself on a very stable position because this base here still didn't got spotted by Strelok, and it's kind of like a secret base that he has there. You see, if he's be able to establish that base and just benefit from the income, he will be leading the econ game and probably going to be able to muster up and reinforce his army a lot faster than Strelok. Strelok still advancing, getting a tumor there, while Zenio getting his hatchery morphed into a lair on his Natural Expo instead of doing it on his main base. This Overlord just keeping some tabs on the Hellion movement, while he has both Zelnaga watchtowers controlled once again. Let's take a look at Strelok bases meanwhile. He's getting a lot of racks now, 4 racks play incoming with an armory already established, so we might be seeing some Thor play pretty soon, while these Hellions are just trying to contain Zenio's advance. But what Strelok doesn't know is that Zenio already advanced enough to have that third base there on that zone, on that spot on the 9 o'clock. Incoming roaches, those Hellions won't be able to do anything at all against this amount of roaches, and apparently Zenio is preparing himself to make a push. Plenty of roaches advancing. Let's check the army count, 107 against 84, so Zenio is leading here, not by much, but might be enough to punch a big hole onto Strelok's defenses. Let's see the unit count, 16 roaches, 4 queens against siege tanks, Hellions, and some marauders and marines. So we're getting a nice combo, a nice mix made by Strelok here. He's getting M&M backed up by siege tanks with just these Hellions that were supposed to be used as an early way of pressure, but he didn't get much of a result out of it. Engineering bay going down in front of that Natural Expo, reinforced by a lot of bunkers and supply depots. Notice this wall-off made by Strelok is just making sure that the forces from Zenio will have to go all the way around if they actually want to enter his main base. And meanwhile here on his main base, not much getting built, just reinforcing his supply depot amount so he can keep progressing and advancing there. Massive explosion there with some banelings, while this third base is already working just fine. He's getting his drone count increased so he can keep pumping more and more on his econ game, more minerals. Let's see the income at the moment, how it is. While Strelok is roaming around, as you guys could see with the Hellions, checking out if Zenio already went for his third base, second expansion on that area, and he didn't see anything there, so I'm pretty sure that at the moment Strelok will be wondering what's going on, because he can't picture Zenio working out of 2 bases for the rest of his life, and he's probably suspecting that there's a third base. The Hellions are heading the right way, while you have another Sacrificial Overlord flying above the base, checking the unit composition in the buildings, and there it is, Strelok finally spotting that third base by Zenio. These Hellions did their purpose. They're not going to be able to destroy much here, I would say, though they roasted some of those drones, and now the forces from Zenio finishing them off. But now Strelok knows what he has to do. He knows that that third base is there on the 9 o'clock, and he's going to be able to do something about it if he decides to make a push. Meanwhile, Zenio advancing with his Zerglings, this time to find the place wall off on the back of the mineral base, and now he's going to have to rush into the front of the Natural Expo, where there was a lot of forces getting ready to fend them off, and Zenio had to pull back. As you can see, there's already a Thor mix there. A single Zergling was poking at that supply depot. You can't expect much coming out of that situation now, can you? And meanwhile, Zenio getting his 4th hatchery almost completed and already transferring some workers there. And look at the advantage that he has on the econ game at the moment. Meanwhile, Strelok advancing with the bulk of his forces all the way on the left side. I think he's gonna try to make a push and destroy that 3rd base. Make sure that Zenio won't be able to establish his econ game and keep benefiting from it like he is. As you guys can see, there's a huge gap on the econ game, and also there's a huge gap on the harvester count. Scan going down and a big assault ensuing with the siege tanks. Thor leading the charge, and Zenio forced to pull all of his units back while the siege tanks try to get some visibility. He needs to get some units here on the top of this ramp so all the siege tanks can start shooting at the units here. There they are. Meanwhile, Zenio flying around with his Mutalisks, trying to destroy as many of those siege tanks as possible, but there were several Marines there defending the siege tanks. Roaches getting backed up by those Mutalisks, advancing into the forces from Strelok, but that wasn't enough, and Strelok destroyed the base once again. Now finally the bulk of the forces from Zenio advancing with a lot of Banelings and Zerglings roasting away, just melting all of those M&M forces. But meanwhile, Strelok was able to stop the production from Zenio, and Zenio rebuilding once again his base here on the 9 o'clock position. As you can see, the unit composition at the moment, it's basically Zerglings and Banelings. We already seen those Mutalisks flying around, coming out of this spire as well. And also there's already the infestation pit, Baneling's nest on that corner. And notice how he's getting a lair transformed into a hive on his natural expo once again, preparing a lot more Banelings. And apparently Strelok will be advancing to pick up his 3rd base now, and taking the chance, risking placing it on the rich mineral field. Meanwhile, Zenio seems unstoppable on the macro game. You're already playing around about 4 bases now, getting the 5th now on this place on the 3 o'clock, while destroying the rocks on the rich mineral field. So he is kind of unstoppable at the moment on the econ game. He's just committing himself to a lot of bases, a lot of macro play, while Strelok advances with his forces into this 3rd base, this 4th base on Zenio's side. Usually it's the 3rd base. Try to destroy it, to snipe it, and nice Team Marines and Marauders destroying that base before Zenio was fast enough to pull with all his forces and just destroyed all of the units from Strelok. So those units had their purpose, destroyed this base. Nice stimmed snipe there on this situation. And look at the forces from Zenio. He has so many Zerglings at the moment. 96 Zerglings, am I seeing right, or is it 86? God, I need new glasses clearly. But incoming a lot of Zerglings, advance into the natural expo from Strelok once again. There's a big road ahead of those Zerglings. Look at them just grinding everything, while the bulk of the forces from Zenio flank on the back of Strelok's army and destroyed most of those units there. But meanwhile, the front line from Strelok advancing once again into this base and just sniping once again this hatchery. It's the 2nd time that Zenio tries to get the hatchery up there. The first one already was established and got destroyed, and now this 2nd one didn't even got finished. He had to cancel it before it got destroyed. And now a big push once again with the forces from Zenio roasting, melting and chewing through all of the army from Strelok, being able to just reinforce his army so quickly with this amount of bases, getting most of those larvae turned into units, into Zenio's army, and incoming a big wave of Zerglings surrounding the units that destroyed the base on the 9 o'clock from Zenio once again. And while Strelok is committed to a lot of sniping, a lot of roaming around and guerrilla tactics, destroying most of the forward bases from Zenio, Zenio is just working fine out of those 3 bases on the bottom, and now, as you can see, establishing his base on the rich mineral field. At the moment he's playing out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bases. This one that was his 3rd got destroyed once again. Getting some transfers Here some workers transferring to the mineral field of this base on the 3 o'clock. More workers already working out of the hatchery on the rich mineral field. And this is allowing Zenio to just stay in the game, balance his income. And the harvester count, as you can see, has so many more than Strelok. But Strelok being playing fine as well. Army wise, he's been able to reinforce his army fairly quick. As you can see, Zenio is able to just keep ahead, 134 versus 100, but Strelok has been able to muster up his forces, gathered small groups to advance into the bases of Zenio and just poke at all the bases, trying to contain the Zerg player, making sure that he's not going to be able to advance as much as he wishes. But at the moment, as you guys been witnessing, Zenio been expanding like mad, working out of 5 bases for quite some time, and now incoming the Broodlords. 2 Broodlords advancing into the units of Strelok, getting backed up by those infestors. Nice fungal growth right on top of all of those units, with the Broodlings poking around, grinding all those ground units. Zerglings now surrounding it with a lot of Banelings as well, and nice assault here done by Zenio, just chipping away slowly until he got all of that Strelok's army completely destroyed. Now single Broodlords just not backed up by anything. Finally the rest of the forces from Zenio advancing into this planetary fortress on the rich mineral field. A lot of infestors wandering around here as well, but not doing much at the moment. And apparently with all the repairs from the SCVs, those Broodlords backed up by the rest of the units from Zenio weren't able to defend, to destroy the planetary fortress. It's still up and blasting everything that gets close enough, and Zenio just decided, instead of going for the planetary fortress, to start raiding this natural expo from Strelok. Also already knocked on the door. As you guys seen, there was plenty of Zerglings poking at this ramp there and basically destroying everything on this natural expo. There's not much of a mineral line here anyway, but you will be able to reduce the amount of supply by destroying all of those supply depots there. Meanwhile, a single infestor is roaming around the rich mineral field line and got blasted by that planetary fortress. That was a bit awkward. Finally, the forces from Strelok advancing here, destroying all of these Zerglings that's been wreaking havoc on the natural expo, and Strelok's gonna make one more push. He doesn't have much of an army at the moment, as you can see. Marines backed up by siege tanks, that's basically it. Let's see the units at the moment. Whoa, there's Ultralisks incoming there. I don't think that Strelok has much of an army. Look at the difference on the army. I think this is just a desperate move, while a bunch of Ultralisks move on the back, gonna start cornering all of the units from Strelok. Nice surround here with more of those Ultralisks coming there from the back, making a nice pincer attack, and now advancing into the rich mineral field once again and into this planetary fortress. With Strelok just GG out of the match, was just way too much, as you can see on the gap there on the army count. Once again, Zenio was getting this base up there. He already had this one working. Where is his? There it is, the Ultralisk cavern. So he made a pretty impressive macro play here, Zenio, and Strelok wasn't able to contain him for long enough. Look at his base. He was committing himself to a lot of Rax play. Didn't have much of a mech, though he had some siege tanks. I think I only saw one Thor or something like that. So well, basically wasn't enough, and Zenio just dominated this game with some very strong Zerg macro. Well, it's done for now. First game over. I'm gonna be focusing on the second one now. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you all later.